Alright guys, and we're back. So, like I said, I really want to go over the importance of the Tri-Brigade engine and how it really boosts all kind of, like, this engine boosts so many decks. Like some decks I probably can't even name them all off the top of my head. Like anything that revolves around beasts, beast warriors, wing beasts, like, you know, there's so many. But as you guys may know, Ancient Warriors are one of the more more recent decks I really enjoyed. I know they're not much of like a meta deck, but I kind of like the road decks, and it's fun actually. It's really fun beating meta players with these. Actually, if I may just comment right now, it feels so good to actually hold cards again in your hand. I haven't really like messed around with cards since the beginning of the year when the pandemic happened. So, man, it kind of just feels good just to handle cardboard again like this in sleeves. Feels good, and like shuffling the hand. Anyway, so I want to talk about the importance of the Tri-Brigade engine. Basically, I'm probably going to go over just some basic combos that are now much better because the Ancient Warriors have access to this engine. And one of the main things I want to include is that there actually is a small little engine I want to throw in there, and it basically just revolves around like a couple cards. Mainly some of the Fire Fist cards and Fire Formations. Now, Tenki is obviously a card that all these decks should be playing, especially any Beast Warrior deck like Ancient Warriors. Or basically any deck that want to utilize the Tri-Brigade engine because of Fractal here being a Beast Warrior. But I also want to suggest throwing in like a couple cards. Like you can throw in like one Tensu, which actually is not a bad card in Ancient Warrior to begin with, and also one Fire Fist Buffalo, just because this is kind of like a bit of a combo extender. It all revolves around the card, the Link Monster, Fire Fist Eagle. And to be fair, I'm still working on some Fire Fist combos specifically that actually are really good, but the problem is that those crazy combos will cause you to actually lose Eagle when you go into a higher Link Monster. And for the Beast and for the Fire Fist to keep playing, you need to keep Eagle on the field as long as possible, which is actually kind of tough. So I'm still working on that, but I'm going to show how cool Eagle is and Buffalo in your Ancient Warriors, and kind of just show you guys some really cool combos that the Tri-Brigade offer to you. So let's get started. Alright, so the first combo is actually one of my favorite, and this is actually a combo that doesn't really utilize the Tri-Brigade just yet, but I kind of want to go over some of the basic combos. Now, most combos, I would say, probably do revolve around, and forgive me if I butcher any of these names. I think it's a Sunmu or Sunmao, I forget. Anyway, so usually it revolves around Sunmao and the 3 visits card. And don't get me wrong, this is still a very good combo. But I've always been a fan of also utilizing, let's see, Zhaogong. So let me show you what happens if you don't open up with your Sunmao. So let's say you open up with these guys. I would say you play 3 visits. Normal summon Zhaogong. This will then let you add your Sunmao. Use his effect to get rid of the 3 visits. And in this situation, you can kind of go for any one of the spells and traps. I mean, I actually don't have... For some reason, I don't have it on me and I can't find it. So just for the sake of argument, you could always get the card called the Burying of Arrows, because that's actually a really good card that works when you have 2 different attributes and everything, because it'll replace itself. But again, I can't find my copy. I really can't be bothered looking for a common. So we're just going to use this for example. So you add yourself any Ancient Warrior spell or trap card. Because 3 visits went to the graveyard, you can summon the Sunmao from your hand. Now, you can then use this effect to discard the card you searched, or discard whatever you want, to add a Zhuge Kong from deck to the hand. He would then use his effect because he was added by the effect of an Ancient Warrior to special summon himself. This is actually a good situation where if you had a Tenki in your hand, this is where the Tenki and the Burying of Arrows would be really helpful. Because if you had a Tenki, you could use this as the cost, and you would have kept the spell or trap that you searched off Zhukong. And if it was a Burying of Arrows, you can actually place it in the field, and you'll have 2 different attributes to negate with this guy. But again, just kind of like a little food for thought thing. But we'll talk about the importance of Tenki later. I'm kind of just showing like if you didn't draw a Tenki. So now that you have these guys, I know people usually think, oh, you have to go right into the guy, I can't even think of the names. Double Dragon Lords. And yes, this card is very good. But I would say, overlay these 2 for good old Bahamut Shark. Then you can just attach any one of these guys and go for your Totally Awesome. So, this is actually not bad because, again, if you do have other spells or traps, you could always put it here. Like let's just say you didn't have to discard this card. You can then place this down, and now you have a... I think this is going to negate spells or traps. Yep, so now you have a spell or trap negator, and you have this which can negate anything. And this is actually not a bad setup, especially because you'll definitely have more cards in your hand. This is just one of the more basic combos that I like. And so now let's go over another one. Okay, so now let's say you open up with something really good, like a Tenki, because Tenki is probably the best card in all these decks. And you have a 3 visits, which is, I would say, the second best card, maybe even the best card in the Ancient Warrior, Tri-Brigade deck. So let's start off with this and kind of show the different options that we can go with Tenki, because this is what really opens up everything. Because this gives you Sun Mao, Zhuge Kong, or a Fractal from the Tri-Brigade Engine. So let's start with this. So I would say you can start with your Tenki, and let's just show what happens when you go for a Zhuge Kong again. Because now you can play your 3 visits, summon this. The effect will then add you your Sun Mao. You can use his effect to send this to the graveyard, and then add again. If I had that damn card out, I would have shown it. Let's just say you add this. That went to the grave, so then you use its effect to summon him from your hand. Use his effect to get rid of the Tenki instead. Now you can add your Zhuge Kong, who will then summon himself. Again, this is kind of what I was talking about before, because now you kind of have that variety where you can play this here, go into your Bahamut Shark, and then into your Toad. This is kind of what I was talking about with the negating thing, because now you actually do have a good negate. But that's if you have Tenki, but again, you can always just discard something else. Now, if you go back to the whole good old Tenki and 3 visits combo, this is where things get really interesting. Alright, so let's try this one more time. So, this time, we're going to activate Tenki, and this time, we're going to get Sun Mao. So, normal him. This will then add you your Zhuge Kong, who will then summon himself from the hand. And then you can use his effect, Sun Mao, to send the 3 visits to the graveyard. And you can add to yourself to your hand any big ancient warrior that you want. So I would say go for, again, Ambitious Chowda. Because this went to the graveyard, you'll be able to summon him from your hand. And actually, shout out to, I think his name is Winston Chu. I think he's actually the one who, this is actually a really good aggressive turn 2 combo. Because now you can actually go into your double Dragon Lords, who will then be able to add you a, let's see, Zhang De, who can summon himself from the hand. So you have a free bounce with this, because you can send Tenki to the graveyard to bounce something. And this is actually a really aggressive turn 1 board. So this actually is again, just a nice little option for going second. But let's go back to another a play for going first as opposed to going second. So now let's try this again. We're going to activate our Tenki to get our Sun Mao. We'll normal summon him, and then use 3 visits to add us Zhuge Kong. And you don't have to always get Zhuge Kong. I'm just looking because he kind of just gets himself right out of the hand immediately, which is always kind of nice. Then you can then use his effect to send 3 visits to the graveyard, and then get any other card you want. I would say you can always go for Graceful Zhao Gong this time. This will then summon him from the hand. Now here's where it gets a little bit interesting. You can always use Zhao Gong's effect to actually replace this for another spell. So we'll just get this for now. We'll just I guess we'll pretend this is actually in our hand for now. So, ordinarily, you would kind of think, wow, this is kind of where you can either go for the Bahamut Shark play, or you can even go for the Double Dragon Lords play. Now, here's the beauty of cards like Brotherhood of the Fibrous Eagle. And this is why I think this is actually not a bad engine to be running in a deck like this. So, if you want, you can actually link some of those guys away for your Eagle. Now this is actually this only really works if you have a card like Tenki or Tensu in your grave or field, because you want to be able to use the effective Eagle to add this card back to your hand and then send to the graveyard your Buffalo. The cool thing with this little extra combo is because now this gives you the ability to bring back your Buffalo. Now, you have a lot of options right now, because although you're well within Nibiru territory, which you guys have to be very mindful of, this is not that bad, because you can now link summon all 4 of these guys into something like an Apollosa. Second I can find her. So if you wanted to, you can link all 4 of these guys away for an Apollosa, and you have these 2 cards in your hand, as well as 3 other cards. So if you have any other extenders, you can actually keep playing. For example, if you have someone like a Tensu, you can actually keep playing. Maybe you could even summon if you happen to have a Tri-Brigade in your hand with a Tensu, you can get him out in the field and then keep playing, which is really cool. And we'll go into that. Well, so that's one route you can go with Appaloosa. Or if you wanted to, you could always use these guys and go into a rank 4 play. And that, unfortunately, would not be able to give you access to something like Bahamut Shark and Toad. But it can give you a Tyrant King. And the cool thing with Tyrant King is the Tyrant King can also give you access to that Tensu if you need to search it out. And then with the Tensu, you can then, you know, like I said, keep playing. If you have any more Ancient Warriors, if you have a Fractal in your hand, you can get him out, use his effect to, gosh, I don't know, you can banish at least 2 of these guys. And that'll let you summon out a Farragut, the Barren Blossom. Then you can use her effect to summon even more cards out of your hand. And then actually, if you wanted to, right now, this would be a good time to go into your Appaloosa after you use her effect. Again, warning, you are in Nibiru territory, so you can get Nibiru at any point. But just for the sake of the combo, I'm kind of just explaining what you can do here. So if you wanted to, let's say, I mean, I'm not even sure what else you could have in your hand. You could have any of the other level 4 or lower Ancient Warrior monsters, another Tri-Brigade monster, going on onto Appaloosa, and then just keep link summoning. It's actually pretty cool. So I'll let you guys use your imagination for that. But and that's, again, this is kind of like the importance of a card like Firefist Eagle, which I really like a lot. So now let's go and try doing some actual combos where we actually heavily involve the Tri-Brigade Engine. Alrighty, so it's almost like as if we're going in circles here, but so this time we're going to activate, well, you don't have to activate this, but we're going to activate TENKI, and this is where we're going to search for our Tri-Brigade Fractal. And here's where it's going to get kind of fun. So you can immediately discard him to send a Nerval to the graveyard. Now, when Nerval goes to the graveyard, I just have a Tri-Brigade monster. I have always liked having one Curus in your hand, because Curus can actually special summon himself by discarding a Beast or Beast Warrior Winged Beast. But another option is to always go for another Fractal. So we're actually going to just get him. Oops. Stand by for 1 second. I must find the other Fractal that I had laying around. There he is. Because with this guy, he has a lot more synergy because he is a Beast Warrior and he's level 4. So he kind of like, you know, takes advantage of cards like Tensu and all that stuff. So in this situation, I'm going to say we add a Fractal to our hand because we're going to use him as our normal summon. So we've done this. So we normal summon our Fractal. Now, again, this is where there's a lot of variety that can go into this. You can use Fractal's effect to banish these 2 cards to go into a couple options. I mean, obviously, one option is always go into Farragut, because then Farragut can then keep summoning more cards from your hand, but I would not advise this. I would say you should go into one of 2 options. You can go into your Double Dragon Lords, although it will not get the effect to add a card to your hand. It will actually trigger the effect of 3 visits, which is actually really cool. And now you might be thinking, like, well, what card can you add to your hand with 3 visits now, because you already used your normal summon? Well, like I said, if you happen to have a card like Tensu, this is kind of why I like having the cards like Tensu in this deck. Tensu will then let you add any other level 4 or lower Beast Warrior or, you know, Ancient Warrior that you want. You can always go for something like Sun Mao and then keep playing, adding more cards and extending your plays. But let's just say, for argument's sake, this is all you have. So then you'll use the effect of 3 visits to add yourself Zhuge Kang, who is great because he will give you a free special summon. So he'll come out. Now, this is where you kind of have a lot of variety again. You can go into one of many things. You can go into a Tyrant King and get a Tensu to keep playing, or you can go into any rank 4. You can go into like a generic one. You can go into Giant Hand for negation and Abyss Dweller, like when you go up against like certain decks. Abyss Dweller is probably one of the best options. Another thing I always said is you can, at this point, you can probably go into something like the Firefist Eagle, if you happen to have other extenders, because if you go into Eagle, this will then let you add this back to your hand, and then you can send Buffalo to the graveyard. Second I can find him. There he is. Buffalo will then special summon himself, and if you want to, this is again, is kind of where you can get a whole bunch of variety, because if you wanted to, you could always go into a Link 3, you can go into a you can actually link these guys into your Farragut the Barren Blossom to keep summoning more guys and keep playing. You can go into an Appaloosa. It's not the best idea right here because I'm kind of just like spitting out like random things because if anything, I would want to keep him in the field because of how good he is. In this deck, once Eagle gets out Buffalo, Eagle is now useless because he already served his purpose. But, you know, you can kind of like use your imagination here. So now I'm going to go over one more final 2-card combo, and that is utilizing both TENKI and Tri-Brigade Airborne Assault. Again, you don't have to really open up the TENKI, but this having TENKI makes the Fire-First engine like Eagle and Buffalo much better. So just to show you guys the potential of this combo, we're going to say we drew the TENKI and not one of the level 4 guys. Plus, TENKI gives us access to anything that we want. So if we activate TENKI, we're actually going to search out our Sunmo. Normal summon Sunmo. Activate Airborne Assault, targeting Sunmo. Because he's Beast Warrior, you can get out a Winged Beast, so we'll get out Nerval. And this is kind of what you always want to go for. Because now Sunmo can then send Nerval to the graveyard to add yourself a Zhuge Kong to your hand. He will then be able to special summon himself from his effect, and then Nerval will be able to add us. You can basically add any Tri-Brigade. I would say just add something like a Fractal. You are not going to use his effect to discard himself. That's kind of like a point. It's pretty pointless at this point. But again, if you have other discard fodder, you can add Curus, and to that way you don't waste. Yeah, you can kind of get him out of the hand pretty easily. But for the sake of this combo, let's say we go with the Fractal. You can then link some of these guys away for Furgit. I'm going to give you guys a warning. We are now at our 3rd summon. So with this being our 3rd summon, you can use her effect to get out Fractal. This is our 4th summon. So again, guys, just be very conscientious of what we are right now. We're at our 4th summon. So when someone summon another monster, they can Nibiru us. But let's say we use Fractal's effect. There actually are a couple options. One option I do like is that you can actually go and banish all 3 of these cards and go for a really powerful stun card like Simorg. Now, this won't be able to negate anything immediately, but you could always, during the end phase, use his effect to summon out a Apex Avion, which is really good. Because then you have like essentially an Omni negate that you can pretty much do like a, or if you want to, which another favorite of mine is, you can use this effect to summon out the Wind Barrier statue. So then it gives you a Vanity's Fiend, essentially, which is pretty nice. I guess it all depends on the matchup. But now, instead of doing that, let's just say we were to only banish 2 of these cards. So we'll banish 2 Ancient Warrior monsters, and then we'll use that effect to get out one of my favorite cards, which is something like Fire-Fist Eagle. Now, Eagle is pretty cool because he can now let you bounce this TENKI back to your hand, and then you will send Buffalo to the graveyard, and then Buffalo will come out. Now, you can do a whole variety of things if you really wanted to. You can keep Link Summoning, and I would say a really smart thing you can probably do is to go into an Apollousa right now, just in case they haven't done any monster effects like Effect Veiler or Ash Blossom, whatever. Most likely not, but just saying, it's still a really good turn 1 card. It has it only has 2 materials, but it's still not bad. Then you can then use these guys and go into another Link Summon if you wanted to, or I would say into there's a lot of rank 4s you can go into. You can go into a Tiger King, which can then give you access to, well, you already have Tenki. It can give you access to Tensu, and then if you get, let's just say you search for a Tensu, and you have another Tri-Brigade in your hand, you can then normal summon that out, and, well, I guess technically it would have to be something besides Fractal, because Fractal already uses effect, but you know what I'm saying. You can even use this to get another Ancient Warrior out to the field. Or you could always use this to go into, like I said, many other rank 4s. You can't go into Toad, unfortunately, but you can always go into something like a Baguska. You can go into an Abyss Dweller. You know, you can kind of go into all kind of crazy things, which is really nice. And that's kind of the power of utilizing a card like Airborne Assault, because it gives you access to your Ancient Warrior engine as well as the Tri-Brigade engine, which is really nice. And so now, that's kind of just showing you the power of the 2-card combos. Now I want to kind of go into more detail with 3-card combos. So now we're going to demonstrate a really good 3-card combo. Kind of like I said before, when it comes to cards like Airborne Assault, it is really good because it kind of gives you access to any of your Tri-Brigade monsters. Airborne Assault does give you your Naval, as long as you control like a Ancient Warrior monster. The only downside for this card is that the monster you summon, the monster you summon has its effects negated, so you can't like use it for its extra Link monster summoning effect. And I think also after you summon it, or if you use this card, you can only summon extra deck monsters that are Link monsters for the rest of the turn. So that kind of holds you back from playing any XYZs, but no, it's still there as a good option just to kind of like, you know, tutor into your Naval. But the cool thing is that even if you draw Naval, it still works. So this is just an example of a really good 3-card combo. So you're going to be activating your Tenki, and you're going to be going for your Sunmo. Activate 3 visits, and then you'll normal summon your Sunmo. The effect of 3 visits will give you your Zhuge Kong, and then Zhuge Kong will summon itself. You can use the effect of Sunmo to send this to the grave and add yourself a... At this point, I'm saying you can add basically anything because we're going to be using it. You can use anything because we're going to be discarding it. So just add, for example, Lu Xuan, and then with Nerval's effect, you'll be able to get Curus to your hand. Now, you're going to be able to special summon Curus from your hand by discarding the Lu Xuan. Now, so right here, we're kind of at a bit of a standstill, but I would say this is probably one of the best things you can do. And that is you can go into your Fire Fist Eagle. Now, with Eagle, you can then bounce the Tenki back to your hand and send Buffalo to the graveyard. Then Buffalo will special summon itself. Now, again, just a warning, we were at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are now in the Beerus territory, which does kind of stink. But the cool thing is you can now use Curse's effect, and you have a decent amount of monsters in here. So just banish any number of these. I will say 3. So I guess we'll just banish these 3. Because Sunmao is actually like really good, so we'll keep him in the graveyard. With Curse, and we'll get out your Simorgh Link monster. And now, I would try to go and use these 3 monsters and immediately go into an Apollosa. So the cool thing is this was a 3-card combo that ended up with us. We still have 3 visits. We have a Tenki back in our hand. So we also have 2 other cards in our hand. So I guess just for argument's sake, we have 2 other cards. We have the Tenki. We have 3 visits which we can use next turn. We do have an Apollosa that has 3 negates, and we have a Simorgh, which on the end phase will be able to summon out a Mist Valley Apex Avian. Yeah, because there are 9 unused spell and trap zones, so even though we do control this, there are 9 unused ones, so we have no problem summoning out Mist Valley Apex Avian, which again, it can negate basically anything, which is really nice. And actually, can this guy summon from the hand? Yeah, so essentially you have an infinite negate as long as this guy's on the field, which is pretty crazy. And as long as you don't have too many spell and trap cards. So this is probably one of the better ones that doesn't end up with us having a card out like Bahamut Shark and Toad, but I really do think that's still not too far-fetched if you have a card like Tensu and maybe like another Ancient Warrior monster. So although I like to think this is probably like one of the really good like WOMBO combos for the 3-card combo, I do want to kind of go over what if you also have the additional like a full 5-card hand with Tensu, and I kind of want to show you guys what is actually possible with this deck. So like I said, if you do have a really great 5-card hand, so we're at the exact same setup that we had before, but now let's say these 2 cards were actually something like a Tensu and a Fractal. Again, very specific cards, but this kind of shows that, you know, you can even keep going further and further as long as you can have additional Tri-Brigades in the field, and Fractal is probably one of the better ones because he is the Beast Warrior, so he can get double summoned out with Tensu. So let's say you open up with this as well. You can even get another Fractal. Well, technically this is the first one you played. And then use his effect to then banish, I don't know, you can probably even just banish like these 2 guys. And get out a double Dragon Lords. Whoops, technically I have to summon it over here. It's in a link zone. And the cool thing is now, with this, even though you won't get the effect of Search, you now have another Interrupt. You have 3 monster negates. This will be able to summon out a Mist Valley Apex Avian in the end phase, which can negate anything and resummon itself. And Simorgh will be able to resummon it at the end of every end phase? Wait. Yes, this can actually summon this guy during the opponent's end phase too. That's actually really crazy, assuming there's not too many spells and trap zones here. But the cool thing is with double Dragon Lords, he's an additional bouncing interruption, and you can always just bounce back one of these cards to, you know, reuse next turn and even free up your back row, so that way this guy's effect will always work. And I just think this is a really, really strong combo. It definitely gives a lot of utility that Ancient Warriors never really had before. I do think that the Buffalo Firefist Eagle is a nice little engine as well, which kind of gives you like a really crazy board like this. So I hope this has been enlightening to some people. I do still want to keep experimenting with these. I think this is still not even near the potential of what that can do, because obviously we're going to have other Ancient Warrior monsters coming out. We're still getting the big level 8, like, I don't know his full name, Rebellious, whatever his name is. He's pretty cool. I think they're getting like another trap card, which would be really nice. Tri-Brigade's getting some new cards that you can even play, like the Tri-Brigade trap card, which gives you like a free link monster or something like that. Like, there's all kind of cool things you can still do with this. But I kind of just wanted to show how much the Tri-Brigade engine really gives you a lot of access to crazy boss monsters, like, well, specifically like Simorgh. He's probably one of the better ones. And they can even help you summon multiple double Dragon Lords if you weren't able to link summon one already. If you can link summon this guy, I would, because getting his search is very valuable. But regardless, still a really pretty crazy combo. Let me know what you guys think, and I'm so happy to be doing more of these like deck combo videos and everything. I really do just like discussing this. To me, it's a lot of fun. And so yeah, if you guys like this kind of stuff, please leave a like, comment down below, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.